Hello, thank you so much for joining me today. I have a bit of a fun project today. I found some sponges in a local pound store, dollar store, whatever you like to call them, and I just have to make it up into a soap. So why don't you come along and join me? We're going to be making a rainbow soap. For rainbow soap making, we don't need a lot of ingredients. This is a really simple project. It's great for doing at home when you don't have a lot of time or you just want to have some fun. But it's also great to maybe do with your children. Because we are going to be using a knife, you definitely need them to be supervised. So let's just run through what you're going to need. You're going to need a basic kitchen scale, some glycerin soap base. You can buy this from your craft store or from a soap maker's supplies company. We're using the transparent one, and this particular one is called Crystal, and this is by a company called Stevenson's, but they do manufacture for lots of other brands, so don't worry if it doesn't say Stevenson's on there. You're going to need a jug for melting everything down in, a fragrance oil or an essential oil if you prefer, some rubbing alcohol or surgical spirits or isopropyl alcohol, some biodegradable glitter, a knife, a spoon for stirring, and then you're going to need a cake pan. Now, I would normally use silicone, but I just don't have a silicone cake pan the right size for this project. And there's no point going out and buying things that you don't need. So just utilize whatever you've got. And then I'm also going to use the inner tube of a toilet roll, and you'll see what we use that for later. And then I've also got some fun, funky rainbow sponges that we bought at the local dollar store. If you don't have these, that's absolutely fine. You can do this with any type of sponge at all. But I saw these and I just had to buy them. I just thought that they were so fun. And actually I can't wait to try out some of the other types of patterned sponges. They're on sale, they're really inexpensive, and they just bring a great fun, vibrant element to your projects. And I had a ton of different ideas for how to utilize these, but I've chosen one for today, and then I'm going to get you deciding whether I go back and buy another one of these and we maybe do another project with the same sponge later. So let me first of all pop this into the microwave on a medium heat, and we're just going to get this melting down. Now, something which is always a little bit tricky for people is working out how much soap they need for their particular mould. And I thought we'd go over that together while we're waiting for the soap to melt. So the first thing is to put your mould or your cake pan or whatever you're using onto your scale and then zero it so that it fully reset to zero with the weight of the pan on. And there it's at zero. And then we're literally just going to use water, and we're going to pour until we get to the kind of level that we want. So look at that. If I go to 800, I'm just a little bit from the top, which is perfect. I don't want to go all the way to the very top. I think 800 will be perfect for this. So I now know that I need to melt 800 grams of the glycerin soap. So I'm just going to tip this out and then dry the mould, and then we're ready for making the soap itself. So this was the mould that I ended up deciding to use. And I did this for a couple of reasons. The first mould that I actually thought about using was totally different. It was actually going to be this one. This is a silicone mould, and I thought about placing these inside so that it was like that. But I really didn't like it, because when I cut this, if I cut this into square bars, all of the pieces would have been different. And I actually think that would look quite nice, but it wasn't the look that I wanted for this soap. And then I thought, well, I could cut this into wedges, but then I'd end up with some areas with none of the outside edge. And I just thought, I really don't want that. So that one went totally out the wall. And the next one I thought about was maybe doing individual bar moulds, or these particular ones are squares so that I could cube. And I thought that I could have actually cut these into 5 wedges, each one into 5 wedges, and then I could put one of the wedges and insert the wedge into the mould so it's sticking out the top. What do you think about that idea? And another idea I had was to cut it into wedges and then put the long end into the top of a bar of soap. all of the way down a loaf, so that they're sticking up outside the top of a loaf. And I'd get that lovely wedge of a rainbow all of the way down, coming out the top of every single bar. And that is one that I really would maybe like to try another time. So let me know. I've given you a few of the other options that I could have done with this particular sponge. If there's any of those that you like the idea of or would like to see me make, do let me know in the comments, and I'll be able to nip back and get another sponge and see if I could make that up with you. But this was a cake tin that we already have. It's not silicone, and normally I don't like using metal at all when I'm doing melt and pour, because it can be a little more temperamental to get out of the mould, but hopefully we'll still be able to get it out. So I've just put the two into here, and you can see it's going to puff up a little bit. Now I am hoping that once we've got some soap in there, that's actually going to hold it a little bit firmer down to the bottom. But if it doesn't, we'll cheat and we'll use some sellotape over the top just to keep it down in the soap itself. Now you'll see I'm not colouring the soap at all, but we are going to fragrance it. And into my 800 grams of soap, we're going to be using 8 grams, actually this is slightly under, but we're going to be using our fragrance oil. And I'm actually using Parma violets for this one, because my daughter and my granddaughter really like Parma violet fragrance. So why not make things that you love or the people around you love? Enjoy the moment. This is absolutely something that you could do so easily with, you know, your grandchildren, and they just have such a great time. And special memories and special time with our loved ones is incredibly important. Life is so short. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pop these out for a second, and I'm going to pour a little bit of this soap in to start. So I already have the fragrance in. Just going to put a little layer, maybe about a centimetre, it's about ½ an inch, into the bottom, and then I'm going to pop the sponge straight into that, and that's, can you see how it holds it in place for me? So I can get it exactly where I want it to be. Don't worry if you get bubbles coming out, we can get rid of those afterwards. And then I'm going to add my toilet roll holder into the middle. I know this seems a bit weird, but the reason is I actually don't want that centre to be the same as the rest of the soap. Now I need to manipulate this a little bit by pushing down. If I use a spoon and push down a bit, some of the air will come out and it will really saturate that sponge. But by just pushing down, it's going to allow the soap to really saturate the sponge, and then we can pour some more in. Put another nice layer over it. And just get that whole sponge really, really coated. Don't worry if it goes over the edges a little bit. You're not having fun if you're not making a mess. I'm just using the alcohol to break most of the surface bubbles. Now, I've deliberately not filled soap into the centre because I don't just want it clear in the middle. I want to use this gorgeous glitter, and that's what we're going to do in a second. It's the final thing that we'll do in here. We just need to make sure that this is really saturated before I use up the rest of the soap to put some glitter in, because each time, can you see it keeps going down and I can pour more soap on. And I only need a little tiny bit for the centre. Doesn't that look stunning? I do hope you enjoy playing with things like this like I do. So I've just got a very tiny bit of soap there, and I'm going to add a bio glitter to that. Probably went a bit overboard, but you're definitely going to see it. So I'm going to pour this into my tube. I'm going to spray it first because there is a little bit of soap already in there. I'm just going to pour all of that into that central section, and then I'm just going to gently pull that tube out, and it should, yes. So it stayed just in the middle. So just that centre section is going to be full of glitter when this is set. And that is going to be just perfect. We just need to leave this to set now. If you do see bubbles coming out, just spray. It'll stop after the first couple of minutes, so it's not something you'll have to do for ages. But you can see there's going to be little bubbles coming up as the air pops out of the sponge in the middle. And actually this will be the bottom of the soap when we turn it out, so I'm not really worried about them anyway. But if you are worried by little cosmetic bubbles, give them a spray. Doesn't that look absolutely beautiful? I can't wait to cut this up and show you the finished product. Doesn't that look beautiful? It's nicely set now. I've just taken the knife and run it. I use the back of the knife, not the blade. And I tend to run it around the edge a couple of times. Really loosen it all up. And let's see if this is going to pop out or not. Yeah, it did. Oh, I got a couple of little air pockets. I don't think they really matter that much. Doesn't that look beautiful? Look at that. That is so lovely. Oh, this smells gorgeous too. So I'm going to just cut this and try and work out where it should actually be cut. Oh, there's something really satisfying about cutting through sponge. So I can actually use this now as a bit of a template. Now I've got one, and I can pop that on top and then cut the other one as well. And then we'll do the final one. Oh, this smells so good. Well, that was dodgy cut. Look at that. One giant one and one little one. Oh well. And this whole thing is sponge. So when you start washing with this, it's going to be really, really sudsy. And I think that's going to be absolutely lovely. I think my daughter and my granddaughter are going to absolutely love this one. Oops. So what do you think? Do you like it? Would you have done something different with the sponge? I would love to know. And don't forget, if you want me to do this in a different way, I am more than happy to listen to your comments, and we might try using the same rainbow sponge in a different version and see how that comes out too. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It's been great being with you. I look forward to seeing you in another one of our videos really, really soon. Bye bye for now.